They never saw it coming. A group of bullies, confident and loud, decided to pick on someone they thought was easy, a simple woman, quiet and unassuming. They laughed, they taunted, thinking this would be just another easy target. But what they didn't know was that behind her calm and gentle appearance was a hidden strength few can imagine. She wasn't just any woman. She was a black belt in karate, trained to handle far more than just words. This story isn't about a typical fight or some ordinary showdown. It's about underestimating someone based on how they look and what happens when that mistake turns everything upside down. The bullies, fueled by arrogance and ignorance, are about to learn a lesson they'll never forget, but it won't come the way anyone expects. As the tension builds, the quiet woman's patience starts to wear thin, and the air grows thick with anticipation. Will she let the bullies have their way? Or will she reveal the power and skill she's been hiding all along? The streets seem calm now, but something is about to change, and it's only a matter of time before everything erupts. Stick around, because this isn't just a story about fighting. It's a reminder that strength comes in many forms, and sometimes the most unlikely person can be the fiercest protector. What happens next will shock you and challenge everything you thought you knew about standing up to bullies. Don't blink, because the moment of truth is closer than you think. The woman's name was Emma, and she wasn't always the quiet type people saw now. Years ago, she had thrown herself into karate not just as a hobby, but as a way to protect herself and gain confidence. Life hadn't been easy for her. Growing up, she faced her own share of struggles, but martial arts gave her a sense of control and peace. Over time, she earned her black belt, mastering not only the moves but the discipline and calm that came with it. But in this moment, Emma's past seemed far away. She was just a woman walking home from work, minding her own business, when the group appeared. There were 3 of them, all bigger and louder, clearly used to intimidating others. Their faces twisted with sneers as they blocked her path, tossing cruel words like weapons. They didn't know her story, didn't know the strength behind her quiet smile. As they circled her, Emma's mind raced. She could feel their aggression rising, their impatience growing. They wanted a reaction, something to prove they had power over her. But Emma wasn't about to give them that satisfaction. Her black belt wasn't just about fighting. It was about control, about knowing when to act and when to wait. The crowd nearby started to notice, some shifting uncomfortably, unsure if they should step in or stay back. The tension was thick, like the calm before a storm. Emma's heartbeat slowed, her breath steadying. The bullies had no idea what was coming, but whatever happened next would change everything. The question was, would they back down, or would this quiet woman show them a side they never expected? The leader of the group, a tall guy named Jake, took a step closer, smirking as if daring Emma to respond. His friends laughed behind him, egging him on, clearly enjoying the show. They thought this was just another game, a chance to prove who was in control. But what they didn't realize was that Emma's calm wasn't fear. It was focus. Years of karate had taught her to read people, to sense their moves before they even made them. At the same time, a bystander across the street watched the scene unfold. A young man, nervous but curious, debated whether to intervene. He'd seen bullies like this before, and he knew how quickly things could spiral out of control. Yet, something about Emma's quiet confidence made him hesitate. Was she really as helpless as they looked? Or was there something deeper he couldn't see yet? Back with the group, the tension tightened. Jake's voice grew louder, full of false bravado. "What's the matter? Cat got your tongue," he taunted, stepping even closer. The others circled tighter, their eyes sharp, waiting for Emma to crack. But she stayed still, her hands relaxed but ready. Suddenly, a small noise from a nearby alley caught Emma's attention. Her senses sharpened instinctively, a warning sign from years of training. The bullies didn't notice, too caught up in their own show. But Emma did. She knew that this moment wasn't just about them anymore. Something else was stirring, something that could turn everything upside down. The crowd watched, breaths held, caught between fear and curiosity. Would Emma's calm break? Or was she preparing for something far bigger than anyone guessed? The real challenge was just beginning. Emma's eyes flicked toward the alley, her body tensing ever so slightly. The bullies, still focused on her, hadn't noticed the shift. Jake's smirk grew wider, certain his intimidation was working. But Emma's calm was unshaken. Inside, she was ready. Her training had prepared her for moments just like this, when danger wasn't just in front of you, but lurking in the shadows. The young man across the street, still watching, felt his heart pounding. He thought about stepping in, but something told him to hold back, to see what would happen. Emma seemed different, like she carried a strength that didn't need shouting or threats. Still, he couldn't shake the unease growing in his chest. Suddenly, one of the bullies made a sudden move, reaching toward Emma's bag as if to grab it. The crowd around them shifted uneasily. The air felt electric, charged with the promise of something about to snap. Emma's hand shot out with lightning speed, grabbing the bully's wrist before he could touch her. The look in her eyes changed, no longer just calm, but sharp, focused. Jake took a step back, sensing the change but trying to keep his cool. "Hey, chill out," he sneered, but his voice betrayed a hint of doubt. His friends looked at each other, uncertainty creeping in. Emma's breathing stayed steady, but inside, adrenaline surged. The quiet woman they had underestimated was showing a new side, one they weren't prepared for. The crowd was silent now, waiting for the storm to break, wondering who would make the first real move. In that moment, everything hung in the balance. The bully's arrogance, Emma's hidden power, and the silent tension that filled the night. What would happen next was anyone's guess. Just as the tension seemed to reach its peak, a sudden noise echoed from the alley, sharp, urgent footsteps pounding on the pavement. Everyone's attention snapped toward the sound, including Emma and the bullies. Out of the shadows stepped a figure neither side expected. A middle-aged man with a stern look and a badge clipped to his belt. A local security officer, known in the neighborhood for his no-nonsense approach. The bullies froze, exchanging nervous glances. Their confidence wavered for the first time. Jake's bravado slipped as the officer's eyes scanned the scene, landing briefly on Emma before settling back on the group. "What's going on here?" the officer demanded, voice steady but firm. Emma released the bully's wrist without a word, but her gaze didn't falter. The crowd held its breath, unsure if the officer was here to defuse the situation or escalate it. The bully stammered, trying to come up with excuses, but the officer wasn't buying it. Just then, one of the bullies made a reckless move, a step toward Emma, defiance burning in his eyes. The officer's hand went to his radio, but before he could call for backup, Emma's voice cut through the silence, calm but resolute. "This doesn't have to get worse," she said, eyes locked on the young man. "Walk away." The alley felt colder now, the tension thicker than before. The stakes had risen. What started as a simple threat had turned into something bigger, something that could spiral out of control if anyone made the wrong move. The bullies were no longer just testing Emma, they were testing the limits of the whole situation. And Emma, she stood ready, not just as a simple woman anymore, but as someone who knew exactly what was at risk and what she was prepared to do next. The young man's defiant step forward was met with a sudden, swift movement from Emma. Without raising her voice or making a scene, she used a precise, controlled karate technique to gently but firmly push him back. It wasn't about hurting him. It was about showing that she wasn't someone to be messed with. The crowd gasped, the officer's eyes widening as he took in the quiet strength Emma radiated. The bullies, caught off guard by her skill and composure, began to back away, their earlier arrogance replaced by cautious retreat. Jake glared but said nothing, his bravado shattered. The officer stepped in, his presence now fully in control, and started talking to the group about respecting others and the consequences of their actions. The tension began to dissolve, the crowd releasing the breath they'd been holding. Emma stood tall, a calm smile touching her lips. She'd faced the threat, protected herself, and diffused the situation without chaos. But just as everyone thought it was over, Emma's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and froze for a moment, her expression shifting from calm to something unreadable. The officer noticed and asked if everything was all right. Emma nodded slowly but didn't explain. The message was from someone unexpected, a voice from her past she had hoped never to hear again. As the bullies disappeared into the night and the officer wrapped up the situation, Emma slipped into the shadows of the alley, phone in hand. The calm surface she'd maintained was only part of the story. Whatever was coming next was far bigger, far more dangerous. The simple woman they had underestimated was about to face a challenge no one saw coming. And this time, it wasn't just about bullies in the street. The night was far from over. Emma took a deep breath, pocketing her phone as she turned away from the fading sounds of the bullies and the security officer's final words. The street was quiet again, but her mind was racing. The message she had received was from an old friend, someone who had helped her during the toughest times in her life. A reminder that strength wasn't just about fighting, but about connections and support. She realized that the encounter with the bullies had brought more than just a test of her karate skills. It was a reminder of how easily people can judge others by their appearance, missing the depth beneath the surface. Emma wasn't just a quiet woman walking home. She was someone who had faced her fears, trained hard, and was ready to stand her ground when it mattered most. As she continued walking, Emma felt a new sense of peace. The night's events had shown her that true strength came from knowing yourself and standing firm without losing control. The bullies had threatened her, unaware of the power she carried, and that was a lesson they would never forget. But more importantly, Emma knew she didn't have to face life alone. The message waiting on her phone was a sign that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she had people who cared and would stand by her side. The simple woman with a black belt in karate had turned a dangerous moment into a victory, not through anger, but through calm confidence and inner strength. And as she disappeared into the night, one thing was clear. Sometimes the quietest people hold the strongest hearts, and that strength can change everything. This story is a reminder. Never underestimate someone's power based on how they seem. You never know what's beneath the surface.